Hello, and welcome back to the Sad Fan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made you sad from the previous week. This is kind of a cheater status because this happened this week on Sunday. What makes us a little sad is that the Warriors did exactly what we expressed we were afraid they were going to do on last week's show, which is kind of shit the bed when everything was up against it. And yes, it was a great game, but the Warriors didn't win, and that just gave us a preview of what's going to happen in the playoffs. We've expressed for multiple weeks now the best thing for a team that is this old, and make no mistake, the Warriors are old. Steph Curry is old. Though he's great, he's old. Jimmy Butler, not as great on the Warriors as he's been on the Heat, but he's old. And then Draymond Green, very old, gray in the beard. And these are the three players that this team is relying on to get over the hump. Meanwhile, they lost to the Clippers, who've been down, and you could say they haven't been healthy, or they're just getting healthy now, or they're hitting their stride at the right time. All the bullshit cliches that you can throw out there to make some type of excuse as to why it is that the Warriors cannot get it done when they need to get it done. They had a stupid loss to the Spurs that put them in this situation with everyone healthy. And then you can't discount the loss they had to the Miami Heat with Steph Curry hurt, which we highlighted on this show was a make it or break it game as far as that team and its chemistry was concerned. You knew that if they couldn't win without Steph Curry on the court against what is a bad Heat team, then they weren't going to be able to gel and get it done together. Now, they've looked really good since the Jimmy Butler trade, but it appears to be plastic action, meaning it's going to fall apart once it comes up against real steel. And though, again, the game last night was great against the Clippers, we saw that. The team did not win a game that it was a must win. They needed to win that game to keep out of the play-in bracket, and they didn't. And now they're looking up at the Thunder or the Rockets. Now, we said a couple weeks ago that we would love to see them against that Rockets team because we really don't have any faith in that Rockets team, but they lost to the Rockets too. And it was largely Ime Udoka and Steph Curry largely popularized that they got into a squabble. And not just that, they held Steph Curry down. They were not able to get, the Warriors, pardon me, were not able to get anything going against that Houston Rockets team, which is kind of terrifying when you consider that that is the team that no one believes in. The Houston Rockets is what we're talking about. And that is that a preview to what we're going to see as this team limps into the playoffs? It's not a good sign that they could not get it done against this Clippers team who are just trotting out Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. Highlight with Zubac, yeah, he's having an amazing season this year comparative to other centers, but that should not be a player that Draymond Green struggles this much against. That team should not be a team that is able to pull ahead in overtime and win in what was a must-win game for the Warriors. Now, was it a must-win game for the Clippers? And are Clippers fans now saying, hey, we had to have that one? Yeah, probably on both sides. However, the Clippers look a little bit better, a little bit younger, a little bit healthier going into the playoffs. And that was what we wanted to see from the Golden State Warriors, and we just did not get that in that game. Unfortunately, it was a big letdown. And that's what has us sad is now they've got to go into what can be a fairly tough play-in game and, play-in bracket against some difficult competition. Are they the best team there? Maybe. Maybe that remains to be seen because, like I said, they couldn't even win a must-win game against the Spurs. They couldn't win a must-win game against the Miami Heat. They couldn't beat the Los Angeles Clippers. So where does that leave us as it pertains to this team? Their best case scenario is, of course, that they go ahead and rattle off wins in the play-in bracket, and they get to play Houston. Worst case scenario? Well, I guess worst case scenario is they lose them both, isn't it? That would be the worst case scenario. But the only other option is that they play what we feel is a very, very complete Thunder team. And that Oklahoma City Thunder team, though we don't like SGA, is kind of scary. Our only maybe hope is that they kind of remind me of a Houston Rockets team that had James Harden, and the way Shai Gilgeous-Alexander SGA plays, maybe they have a chance if you dip into history. I don't think that the Warriors won't make it out of this bracket. I don't. I think that they're going to be able to beat up on the Memphis Grizzlies, and they're going to take on the Houston Rockets. And we're going to have to see where that takes them as far as these playoffs are concerned. Outside of that, like I said, it looks like a collision course for what will be the NBA's worst nightmare, which is the most boring championship ever. Now, I've heard from a lot of Cavaliers fans, no, I don't think they're going to get it done this year. I think they're going to make it to Eastern Conference Finals, and then we're going to go ahead and see Boston Celtics win again. But I don't know. Something about Boston is off this year. Something about Boston is striking me as they're still riding a championship high. Yeah, they're a really great team. They look good this year. But I think that the way Cleveland's playing, they're a little bit hungrier. Wow. Talk about using cliches. Here we go. Here I go. They look a little bit hungrier. And I think they want to spoil the NBA's finals because the NBA does not want to see Oklahoma City and Cleveland in the championship game. Reporters, press, people following these teams around do not want to stay in Oklahoma City or Cleveland. It is literally worst case scenario for the NBA, but these two teams look far and away to be the best. And I don't know, unless you get LeBron and Luka Magic, Steph can pull something off now that they have to play more games to get in to the championship, but none of that looks possible. It looks like it's going to be largely a championship for hardcore NBA fans, and we're going to have to sit through it and see what we're able to make of it, because if you are a passive NBA fan, or you're a fan that just likes certain players, or you follow certain players because of their TikTok highlights or their Instagram highlights or their Twitter highlights, then this is not going to be the finals for you, because the players on this team, on these two teams outside of Donovan Mitchell, don't have those huge highlight reel packages that make passive NBA fans interested. So here we are on the cusp of the playoffs, and it's looking like Oklahoma City Thunder against Cleveland Cavaliers is imminent. And that is just something that nobody wants to happen, except for, I guess, masochists that are fans of the NBA and want to watch these two teams that are great teams duke it out. They've been the two best teams all year long. Are they going to be the two best teams when it's all said and done? We're going to talk a little golf, and we're going to talk a little golf without Wes. And that is terrifying for me because I am not a golf guy, but even I was sucked into Rory McIlroy drama, I want to say, on Sunday, where he finally got his career Grand Slam by winning the Masters, which has been the one thing that has eluded him his entire career. And when I think at Rory, and I see where he was years and years ago. I was very young when Nike signed him, and he was the next thing. He was going to take over what Tiger had built. He was going to take it all. And then this Masters tournament was his kryptonite. He could never ever get over the hump. He could never get that green jacket. And yesterday, if you started paying attention, it seemed like he was really going to blow it. And we were going to go through this again with Rory McIlroy, where he gets so close, and never, ever, ever makes it over the hump, and never is able to achieve what it is that has escaped him for all of these years, which is that green jacket. And somehow all the stars aligned for Rory, and he was able to win his career Grand Slam. And we need to think, like, where does this put him amongst the players today or the greats of yesterday? He's obviously never going to reach the heights of a Jack Nicklaus or a Tiger Woods or an Arnold Palmer. Is he one of the people that we go out to see today? And I think the answer is yes, because even I, who is not a big golf fan, I'm not a golf guy, was locked in to see what is going to happen. Is he actually going to pull this off, or is this going to slip through his fingers again? And it didn't. And somehow, some way, he was able to beat Justin Rose and get his green jacket. So I just wanted to take a moment, 3 brief minutes, to talk about that, especially with us being right near the release of Happy Gilmore 2. We need Wes back to do a little bit of golf chat because it's just not for me. But when something that exciting happens, we've got to tune in and we've got to talk about it and say, hey, this is something you all need to tune in for. This is something you all need to see. You need to go find the clips. Wherever the clips may be, you need to go access those and make sure that you get to see what was history as Rory McIlroy again wins his green jacket and locks up that career Grand Slam. Congratulations to Rory. Congratulations to his family. And it was fun to watch all of his fans, all of his family in Northern Ireland celebrating with him in what was a very, very epic moment. He did try to lose it, but he didn't. He won that green jacket. Let's get to the draft that no one cares about. All right, so this show is a little bit of a more brief show because we are doing everything we can to be prepared for this year's NFL draft and for this NBA playoff run. This is the weakest draft in years, maybe a decade, maybe that we can remember. And really, we've got Travis Hunter, who is the player that we watched, won the Heisman. Thought, hey, that guy might be able to turn a franchise around, but I don't really see any other franchise changing players. There are players that are being put on a pedestal, like an Abdul Carter, that people might think, hey, this player could change the trajectory of a franchise. But who knows, really, right? Because he's insanely athletic, but so is Tyree Wilson, and look what he's done for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's done nothing. We'll see every year he's going to break out, and it hasn't happened, and that could be Abdul Carter. There's also a lot of will they, won't they take a quarterback teams in this year's draft, and it's a weak quarterback class. There is probably not a franchise-changing quarterback in this entire draft. And when I say that, I know that includes Cam Ward, and Cam Ward has done nothing but get better at every single level. And make no mistake, he's played at every single level of college football. He's transferred. I think he started at Sacred Heart, Washington State, then Miami, and he's been great everywhere he's gone. He has elevated not just his play, but he's elevated the play of others on his way to being the number one pick. And it does look like he is the imminent number one pick. It looks like the Tennessee Titans have decided on picking Cam Ward and taking their chances with this quarterback. And you got to think, is that the right move or is that the only move? Because there's no one that's going to trade up. No one that's going to trade up for Cam Ward because a lot of teams are looking like they feel like they can get a Cam Ward type in a lot of other drafts or a lot of other situations. There's no reason to really sacrifice years and years of your franchise's success or future to move up and take a Cam Ward. There's no reason to move up and try to get a Shedeur Sanders because no one really even knows what he is going to be. Maybe at high end Teddy Bridgewater, at the high end Teddy Bridgewater. At the low end, Seneca Wallace, maybe? Is that insulting to say he's probably going to be a Seneca Wallace at his low end? Again, I'm saying low end. I'm not saying that's what he's going to be, but I mean, Seneca Wallace was faster than him. I think a lot of people are making excuses for this player because he's Deion's kid. I think a lot of players are making excuses saying he's getting picked on in the media. And what I would tell you is he brought this on himself. You can make whatever bullshit up that you want to make up about why it is. But the truth is the kid has never stopped talking. He's always put himself out there. And now when you put yourself out there, you've got to take the criticism that comes with that. And the criticism that comes with that is, hey, I don't think he's good enough. And that's not just me. That is a lot of analysts saying, I don't think he's good enough, except for like RG3. Who cares what RG3 thinks? He still blames his coaches for his failures. And I'm not going to take his word for it. I'm going to take the word of a lot of people that have been watching a lot of film. And I'm going to take my eyeballs. And what I saw was he doesn't have a great deep ball. His footwork is just okay. We can make up that he has the best footwork, but he doesn't. He has okay footwork. It's good. It's going to get the job done. And like I said, he could be Teddy Bridgewater high end, but I don't think he's going to be better than Teddy Bridgewater. It's not a knock on Teddy Bridgewater. That's just the truth of what Shedeur Sanders looks like he's going to be. I hope he proves me wrong. Whenever we make these tough comments on a young player, you don't want to be right. You want that player to be great. The only thing is, you're probably going to be right. The NFL is tough. There's only 32 teams, which means there's only 32 positions of availability to Shedeur. Okay? He's got to get one of those positions, and it's usually going to be on a terrible team at the top of the draft, and he's got to take that team and elevate that team to the next level and make them something that they're just not going to be. It's insane to me that we think that that player could possibly do that, or that there are players that can possibly do that. Outside of those big name players that we just rattled off, this is really the no-name draft. There's not all the receivers we've seen over the last 2 years that have been each of the other drafts. There's not a huge defensive end outside of Abdul Carter that really like jumps off the screen to you and you go, that person, that individual, that dude is a man amongst boys. There's a lot of role players or pieces that you could put here, you could put there, and maybe build out a nice little roster with. But there's no one really that's going to take your team to the next level. And that's outside of the top 4 or 5 picks. Like, that's it. Even when we get to 5, there's not really a world beater there for someone to take and think, oh, this is going to turn my franchise around. So here we are in what is probably the weakest NFL draft in years and years. And we hope we're wrong, but we think we're right. Lots of good pieces. Someone has to stand out. Someone has to win Rookie of the Year, defensive and offensive. They have to give it away, right? They're going to be on bad teams, so they're going to be the best player on a terrible team or the best rookie on a terrible team at least. And that's what we'll get, and we're going to make a lot about it. Maybe we'll even throw a fake parade in their honor, but we're pretty sure everybody's just holding their breath until next year. No teams at the top of the draft wanted to be at the top of this draft of all drafts. They were really waiting for maybe the Arch Manning draft here, possibly next year. This was the worst case scenario. Really quick before we sign off, shout out to Paige Bueckers, who's already signed a pretty amazing deal. She hasn't even been drafted yet. I mean, she is the consensus #1 overall pick. And when I say consensus, I mean she is going #1 overall in the WNBA draft. But it is just insane to me that she has so much star power that she's already signed a 3-year Unrivaled deal. And Unrivaled was a nice little product last year. It did numbers. It was fun to watch. We only had really one major injury in Angel Reese. So with all of that, it's a league that looks like it's set to continue. It's a league that has television contracts behind it, which is what they need to continue. That's financial power. And we're so happy to see someone like Paige Bueckers getting what she's getting what she's owed, getting what she's earned. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Sad Fan. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Back to the block. Back in the shop. Get it off a dummy. Always get money.